All right, joining me from Kiev is Valeriia Kolomiiets, who is the Deputy Minister of Justice of Ukraine for European integration. Valeriia, welcome and thank you for your time.
Thank you for invitation.
Firstly, the International Court of The Hague, as you no doubt are aware, has come out and said that it has sufficient evidence for President Putin and his so-called Minister of Family Affairs to be arrested for trial for war crimes, for exporting children from Ukraine to Russia. I mean, is this a symbolic step, or how does it play inside Ukraine? How important was that?
It's very important, and it's not just only symbolic step, because like we understand, this is just first stage to show all of the world that Putin and his regime, they produce not only war crimes, but they produce a genocide. And like I don't know, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but when we're talking about deportation of children or deportation of another groups of people, it's one of least things that can show us that that Russia Federation and their troops make a genocide.
What about the notion, and this is what the Russians say, that they are protecting those children?
You see, it's not true. We all understand this. First of all, why? Because when they took these children to the Russia Federation or to Crimea, they don't find some contact, some negotiate with Ukrainian side to turn back these children to Ukraine. That's why it's not about safety of these children. No, it's only about war crimes. And one more point that you see, if we're talking about safety of these children, why they try to assimilate these children to Russians?
Okay, I want to ask you that. When you say assimilate, what's been taking place with those children? Because we've heard of all sorts of stories about renaming them, giving them Russian passports, giving them some kind of re-education to support Russia.
Yes, and first of all, we are talking about these Russian passports, because from that moment they watch to these people like they are Russian children. That's why it's very important that they try to take these children and to raise them like Russian children in the Russian families, and they don't care that these children have family in Ukraine and they are Ukrainian children and citizens. That's why I think maybe it will be better that this situation and this decision of ICC, it was just first step in this very huge and big goals which now have international courts.
Would you put a number on how many children have been taken?
Like I know, we talking about 16,000, something like that.
So the Nazis during World War II kidnapped children. And this has been documented because it was part of the Nuremberg trials of war crimes after World War II, but they kidnapped them in a similar way to what Russia has done. Many of those children were given new identities. They stayed in Germany. They never, ever were able to trace their way back to their families. They didn't know their real identities. Many of them at the end of the war simply didn't know where to go, who they were, and remained in Germany after the war. The tragedy for those children and those families, if any parent can try to imagine how difficult and inhumane that was. And would you draw a parallel with Nazi Germany in World War II and what the Russians are doing now with Ukrainian children?
Of course, and not only with Ukrainian children, but with Ukrainian women, men, with Ukrainians at all, because, like you see, they hate us for who we are. Just only they hate our language, our culture. That's why they want to kill our future. And I think this is the reason why they work with the field of education and in temporary occupied territory, and why for them is so important to took our children from Ukraine and to give them new identity, new language, and new culture.
Far
It's
more
only
than, I'm
yes.
sorry, go ahead.
It's only because they want to kill Ukrainians as like a kind like sorry kill all of Ukrainians and Ukraine like main state.
What other war crimes, because there are far more being investigated than just, and I wouldn't minimize it in any way, than just the kidnapping and taking of children. There are many more war crimes that you're looking at, and you are supplying information to the courts in Europe and in particular the International Court in The Hague?
We work in, Ministry of Justice. We have working with European Court of Human Rights, and we show them all of the violation of human rights in Ukrainian territory, like in Ukrainian territory and in temporary occupied territory. We have couple main cases. First of all, it's case about Crimea, and second, it's the case about Donbass. And image it includes this situation and with MH17, and now we collect
which was the airplane that was shot down by an anti-aircraft missile that obviously by all evidence came from Russia, was supplied by Russia, was put there by President Putin's regime. But in terms of the war crimes that you're investigating after February 24th, when this illegal invasion took place, what are you focusing on? I mean, if you had a sort of a top list of those crimes.
You see, we are interested in collect some information which can show us the administrative practice. I mean, something like this situation with the children. Yes, because it's a lot of number of such cases, and it's very representative. So after that, we are interested and collected some information about attack to civilian, about hostage and human shield, execution and rapes. Because this information, execution and rapes, it show us this genocide practice. Maybe not even more like this situation about deportation of children, but something like this. We don't have.
So it's a very important subject. Is that
yes?
These rapes, for instance, that are occurring, are they casualties of war, things that just happen in war zones with young soldiers? Or are they administrative, to use your term? Are they directed, and is it a weapon of war that Russia is using to terrorize in Ukraine?
for our opinion, it's a kind of weapon, and it shows the genocide of Ukrainian. Why? Because first of all, the soldier who like we can understand, we can blame for these rapes and execution, etc. They did it because they hate Ukrainian women, children and men, because not only women are violent victims of these rapes, no, even children. They did it because they want to not only humiliate the victims of these rapes, etc. They want to, like I said, they have a goal to try to hurt, I mean physical hurts, to these women that in the future they could be mother, something like that. And we understand it's a very interesting situation because, like I know, like we can see from the statistic of Office of the General Prosecutor, we don't have a big number of these rapes. But in the same time, we need to understand that for us, important is not a lot of numbers, but the reason of these crimes and their goals. And like I said, we understand that it's not something current situation, it's administrative practice.
Help me understand, Valeriia, if you can, how after you collect all these cases which are ongoing, and some of them have been documented, where a Russian soldier opens fire intentionally on a car, knowing that there are unarmed people inside, women, they've injured men, they've called home to their families. In Russia, you have tape recordings. I mean, you actually have very complete cases of some of these attacks on civilians, for instance. But where will they and will they find themselves in court anywhere, whether it be in Ukraine, whether it be prosecuted in the International Court of The Hague? And now you have Europe saying that there should be a specialized court with the support of the UN for investigation and prosecution. How do you see these cases coming to court and justice being done?
First of all, we face with our domestic justice. I mean, our domestic courts, because we need to understand that all the proceedings are made by our Office of the General Prosecutor, and they go to our domestic courts.
So, for instance, in Bucha, you actually arrested some soldiers that had carried out crimes there.
If we can find who it was, it is. But if we can't, we also work with international investigators team, which include prosecutor of ICC, International Criminal Court, and Office of Prosecutors, some European countries, and they try to help us to identify these soldier traps and people who was involved in these war crimes. It's like first step and first stage. I mean, domestic courts and domestic justice. If we understand that some cases is not find solution and judgment in Ukraine, we need to understand that these cases will go to the ICC. I think that maybe you know it, that ICC decided to open their own office, I mean office of their prosecutor in Ukraine last week, like I remember. So now they collect all the information with our Office of General Prosecutor, with NGO and other officials who have some information about these war crimes and can share it with Office of the Prosecutor of ICC.
Will Ukraine, sorry, I have so many questions for you, but will
Okay.
Ukraine push for prosecutions, not only in individual cases of murder in the battlefield by of a soldier who has surrendered, or the targeting of a car with women and children and people who have already, not in any way threatened a Russian soldier at a checkpoint, but will you push for prosecutions on things like these missiles repeatedly being fired into civilian apartment buildings? You will push for that and try to hold the commander, or who would you hold responsible for that?
First of all, we need to identify a person who puts the button, if we're talking about something like that. And most important is to find the person who made this decision. In second situation, I think it's not so difficult because we knew all of these people. They have because it's not secret information, something like that. So we need to identify this person and start to work with criminal proceeding to face him or she, but most he, to the justice in Ukraine, like in absentia cases, because yes, if he or she is in Russia, we can't bring him to Ukrainian courtroom.
But you can hold a preliminary trial and make a finding of guilt.
Of course. But we have another situation. Okay, if we can't solve some investigation procedure in Ukraine, we need to work with the ICC. In which cases we can do it? We can do it when we're talking about war crimes, about things like crimes against humanity, when we're talking about genocide. But you mentioned this tribunal, which we like to call like tribunal against Putin. It's tribunal, it's ad hoc court. Ad hoc, it means that it's court which will be created only to this war, Russia against Ukraine, and which is the subject of this tribunal. If we have our domestic level, we have this level of ICC, we don't have some legal solution to crime of aggression. It's mean crime of aggression, Russia Federation against Ukraine. So we understand that we need to find some legal solution, and we decide to create this tribunal because it's only one way to face Putin, face to justice for this aggressive war.
The tribunal on a war of aggression is at what level, though? Is that Ukrainian or that's European?
No. It's European level. It's not Ukrainian level.
This is the specialized court, possibly with UN support, that would be formed in Europe that everybody's talking about.
Yes, and you see, when we're talking about something like tribunal, like ICC, like some compensation mechanism,
I want to
which we
ask
are
you.
launching now. Yes,
Yeah.
we understand that we can create this mechanism by ourselves, not only because we don't have some money or something like that. No, we need. We understand that this justice. We need to some objective courts, objective subject who can bring Putin and his team to justice, because we are not objective in this situation.
Okay.
Because we involve like victims.
And
That's
you
why.
as you and Ukraine, do you, in terms of Ukraine's push for these frozen funds in Europe being used for reconstruction, do you think that that discussion, which has been going on for a year now, do you think that that is gaining momentum now?
Of course, you see, we launched this project, which we call compensation mechanism. Now we create a register of demands in huge, and from like I think it's a better time for it. Why? Because we want to we have a lot of problem, and not even when we're talking about reconstruction. No, because now we have a lot of problem which need to be solved. Yes, sometimes with money, and only with money. We have many assistance and helps for EU from the USA. Thank you, and it's very great for us, and we are very grateful for it. But in the same time, we realize that Russia Federation have lot of money which are frozen in the different countries of Europe, or the USA, and for us it's very big problem and very big issue, that why our partners give us their own money if they can give us the money of Russian Federation. Even now, because I don't talk, this mechanism, it's not like reparation, which can be done after our winning only. We think that this money can help us and help our partners who now involved in the assistance of Ukraine, even now.
Last
and
question.
it's important things, for me.
And there are hundreds of billions of dollars that will be needed for the reconstruction of Ukraine. A lot of the fighting that's currently being done has been spearheaded by the Wagner Group and Yevgeny Prigozhin. Do you see the Wagner Group as in a separate category here, a group that has to be investigated for war crimes? And is Yevgeny Prigozhin, in your view, a war criminal?
Of course, and like I know our Office of the General Prosecutor and prosecutor of the ICC collect many evidence about it. So as for me, he is, but we need to understand that last word will be in some court decision. I mean, like our Ukrainian domestic courts, or ICC, or maybe this tribunal. But I think that if you're talking about this person, it's about ICC jurisdiction.
Why is Prigozhin a war criminal in your view?
Because he systematically violent against human rights, against civilian society, and even those people who was involved in his group. Yes, They sometimes, but they are victims too. I don't, don't tell you about all of these troops, but I mean that this practice, how they involved people to this group, it's illegal too.
And are you pushing the International Criminal Court in The Hague to also bring charges against the Wagner group?
I think that it's question would be better to ask in office of the general prosecutor, and maybe prosecutor of ICC. Why? Because it's not something that we decide which crimes will be judged in ICC. They decided by themselves. So it's not my opinion and my responsibility.
And I know there's many cases that are taking place right now. There are many investigations, and there are many people involved at different levels. It must seem mind-boggling to you at times, just how many investigations and how small your department is in terms of covering an entire war over large parts of your country, and this will go on for years. So, Valeriia Kolomiiets, Deputy Minister of Justice for Ukraine, I mean, it's really a pleasure to talk to you. I hope we can do this again, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.